Welcome back to Girl Crush Country, where we are obsessed with the women in country music. My guest this week is a country singer and songwriter who's been named an artist to watch on all the things in all the places. I'm excited to have her in the studio. Welcome, Allie Colleen.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Or should I say Alco?
Alco's cool. I like Alco because of Kojo, but no one's ever called me it. It's always like a shorthand signature.
So you've been trying to get that going.
I don't know if I'd want to get it going because then I feel like you are copying Cody Johnson, but that's where it came from. Okay. Like, because he's Kojo. So I was like, oh, Alco's kind of cool. That's and I don't have to write my whole name out all the time. I can't spell for shit.
See, I couldn't do it with mine. I can't do it. I can't be cool. So I'm a little envious. How are you feeling? I don't know. Okay, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you've been documenting this journey on your social media.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'll talk about anything that is all over my social media. You know what I mean? That seems fair.
So you had this procedure.
Yes, I did. I got a neck lift and the procedure itself on paper is a neck lift and buccal fat removal. But basically, I had the fat from under my chin and inside my cheeks removed. And they pulled it all up behind my ears and stitched it back on. And I'm about 2 or 3 weeks out.
Are you still in any discomfort? That seems like it would be painful.
I am in a considerable amount of pain. Yeah, for sure. But it's getting there. And then this is not my first experience with cosmetic surgery, and I've learned that if they tell you, 3 days, and then you're good, you can exist on day 3. You know what I mean? Like, you could send an email on day 3. Like, you can drink bone broth on day 3. So it has, it's been a journey already, kind of thing. But it's been really cool. And for women, right, none of us talk about it. We're also shameful. Yeah. So it's been cool to do it on Instagram and see everyone's questions. So I'll tell you anything you want to know about it.
I love that because, I mean, I at no point have I looked at you and gone, you know what, she should do something. Like, that's never been a thing. But if it's a thing you want to do for yourself, then why shouldn't you do it for yourself?
Yeah. It was a big thing for me in the sense of it's like, especially like now more than ever, if I'm really am supposed to be posting 10 trial reels a day and at least 2 actual posts a day on all my platforms, I want to be able to make intentional, not effortless, but quick content. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm like one of the most body positivity people on the planet. So like there was never a time when I looked at my chin and thought, you don't deserve love because your chin looks like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there were so many times where I was like, I don't like that. And it was just like, there was always a little movement under the chin when I would make my own content that I didn't like. And I was like, man, we could eliminate that. We could maybe do whatever. So I think, whatever your reason is for wanting to do it, that's on you. But for me, it was just something that had bothered me for years, and I wanted to fix it and I had the means to do it. So I did.
Yeah. Why not? Was there ever any worry that it would affect your tattoo on your neck?
She spent an additional, so the surgery was 3 hours, and I don't know how true this is, but she made the joke that it was as long as it was because she was trying to keep my firefly straight. Oh. So there was apparently a time when he was like flying this way, you know what I mean? Yeah. There was a time when he was flying this way, and she goes, we can't leave her like this.
When you got stitches, like I haven't had cosmetic surgery in that way, but I have had skin cancer removed from my face several times.
Oh, wow.
And when you have stitches, like the last time I had it done, I was on my nose, and the stitches pulled the skin on my nose. And so I'm always so self-conscious that everybody's looking at my mismatched nostrils. And then I brought it up and the doctor's like, do you really think people are paying attention to you? And I was like, okay, well, maybe not. But I'm always curious. And also there was a time when they had to biopsy a thing that was close to a tattoo that I have on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, like skin cancer, you should get rid of it, but also is it going to affect my tattoo?
I completely understand. She said that she had to take a notch out of my spider web. So I have a spider web where my ear and my neck connect kind of thing. Yeah. So she said that she had to take out something of it. She goes, hopefully you'll never notice I did that. She goes, but I'm really interested to see how it heals. I said, well, me too. I said, I care more about the chin than the spider web tattoo that's always covered by hair. So we'll do what you need to do.
Obviously I wanted them to get rid of the skin cancer if that was what it was, but also that's my tattoo.
Of course.
It's a thought in your head.
I wonder if you could go to a plastic surgeon to remove something medical like that. Like if they said, no, this has to go, and you go, okay, cool. I mean, I know insurance wouldn't still cover it.
The dermatologist, like, she does plastic surgery. I think. Like, I could be making
that's
that
a good dual world.
I could have just made that up. I don't know. How many? I'm sure you get asked about this in every single interview that you do. And I never want to be the one to ask the same questions all the time, but also because I have tattoos and I love talking about my tattoos.
If it's the question I think it's asked all the time and the answer is always different. So.
Well, I was going to say, first of all, how many do you have?
See, we need to update them. I get asked that every single one, but I get tattoos between almost every single podcast. You know what I mean? So we got a couple more than last time.
Okay.
I don't actually know, but we did a tattoo tour on Instagram, and I actually never filmed the last one now that I think about it. And I went like body part by body part. So I did my leg and my whatever. And
I did see that.
We did a tattoo tour, and I told everyone to count because I wasn't going to. And one of my followers, she's so sweet. She's became a good friend of mine. Her name's Casey. But she's always texting me after live being like, we're at 32 or whatever. And I think that's where we're at. I think we're around 32 tattoos right now. That's each arm is one. So 1 and 2, I think I have 32.
So a sleeve is one tattoo.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you got your first one, was it like, someday I'm going to have 2 sleeves and I'm going to have
I had
all of
my
these
first
tattoos?
sleeves completely planned out before I even got my first tattoo.
Yeah.
And my first tattoo wasn't my sleeves at all.
No,
so
it was the elephant, right?
Yeah. So I've had my sleeves planned since I was like 16.
That's crazy.
Was
it a parental rule you had to wait until you were 18?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a parental. My parents had a lot of rules of passage, especially when it came to stuff like that. So it was like, and like really silly stuff. Like I think when I was 10 years old, I didn't have to do like the smell test with my dad if I'd brush my teeth or not. That was a big one. I said, heck yeah, he trusts me now. I think at 12, I could get my ears pierced. At 16, I could get them double pierced. And then everything else, it was like, hey, like you spend your money how you want to. When you're 18, we get it, but like not in our house.
And then you were like, 18, stand back. I
know.
I got to get all the tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now all my parents have tattoos. So
okay, that's awesome.
Just saying. Awesome. Apparently they thought I looked cool enough to get it to get them themselves.
Once you see them on there, like I have several. They're big and brightly colored, but I don't have a sleeve. I'm not opposed to a sleeve. I think a sleeve is really badass. Yeah. Also, I'm broke. So
they're so expensive.
Yeah,
that's always everyone's thing.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe when I've got that sugar daddy, when I finally find a sugar daddy that doesn't want any sugar and he just wants to, how's your Tuesday? Here's $10,000.
Diabetic sugar daddy.
That's all I need. That's all I'm looking for.
Aren't we all?
Then I'll get a sleeve when I find that guy. I did see that you have flowers for your whole family.
I do.
And you have a tiger lily, which is my favorite flower.
Yes, that is Trisha. That is my bonus mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I have the stargazer lily.
Oh, mine. Pretty. Yeah. Very pretty. I love flowers. And my mom always worked in a flower bed. That was always what she was doing, and it's kind of funny. I think as a kid, I'm like, man, my mom loves gardening. And as an adult, I'm like, my mom was anxious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My mom was so anxious, I think, because our flower beds were perfect. They were pristine and she loved them. So all of it always just makes me think about my family.
Isn't that funny how your perspective changes on things when you get older? You actually put out a song last fall called Tattoos.
I did. And I'll challenge you guys. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but I only have one song that's hit 1 million streams so far, like on one platform. So Halos and Horns is a song of mine that's hit 1 million streams on Spotify. And we worked for like 2 years to get there, and then it hit it on Friday the 13th. And I'm like a spooky horror person.
Yeah.
So it hit it on Friday the 13th, I think, in 2024. And so Tattoos is the next song that's like our closest like stream to 1 million streams. And if we can we're like 13,000 away. So we're hoping so Friday the 13th is February, right before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if?
Perfect.
Like, what if we can do it again? Like 1 million streams. So right now that's 1,000 streams a day. So.
Okay. All right.
Like ish, honestly a little less, a little more than that. So we're really trying to get tattoos there. But I had been pitched tattoo songs since I moved to Nashville.
Of course.
Yeah. And I felt like that was the first time I was like, people think I'm kind of cool. Like that was the first time people were showing up for rights. Like, we have ideas. And I said, and I have tattoo ideas.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah. I said, well, what is it? And they were always something like my heart's on my sleeve. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And I was like, if it's not beating Tattoos on This Town by Jason Aldean, like we're not there yet. Because that's my favorite tattoo song, I think, honestly.
Okay.
And then I just saw a man walk into a room just head to toe with tattoos. And I said, I know what Tattoos is about.
Yeah.
And so we came out with Tattoos. So it's just a fun little sexy song, but I love it.
And also, so I'm probably going to go off on a million tangents here because there's so much cool about you that I want to talk about.
Thank you.
And I'm not even sorry about the tangents. Like, this is my show. There's no rules.
You know, I'm following you.
Okay. But your content on social media is so eye-catching and cool. The transition video that you did for tattoos
took me 3.5 hours.
I don't know how the hell you did that, but girl.
So I love specifically horror cosplay, but all cosplays. I love cosplays. So I had the idea. I always had the idea because I've always wanted an album cover or something that's me when I was little, because everything I do is for little Allie. Like there's so many ways that I wish anyone or myself or whatever could go back and do things for little Allie, but she wouldn't be exactly what she is. So I've always wanted to put out, like, when I do that one big album that's like just an Allie Colleen self-titled album, kind of thing. I really want it to be a picture of me when I'm little, but with every tattoo that I have now as an adult kind of thing, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of what I thought about originally when it comes to content, was like putting tattoos on a little Allie that didn't have them. And then I thought, well, I do love Allie too. Like, Allie's pretty rad, like current tense Allie, And I said, I wonder what she would look like if she never decided to do that kind of thing. So I was just curious. And I bought foundation, like full coverage foundation that was for like burn victims and scars, like for people who are trying to do like big, like prosthetically covered stuff, or maybe birthmarks or whatever, but just something that was like really full coverage. And so I found it and I bought it, and I bought 2 different shades that were like slightly off. And I spent 3.5 hours top to bottom, just like contouring everything to make it look natural. And all for a 13-second freaking video that nobody watched the first time.
But it's so cool.
I just reposted it on it because it's like a couple years old, and I just reposted it a few months ago, and it did okay. But it wasn't, I was like, this is the coolest video I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
No, and most people didn't even catch it. And then it was funny because I was doing live after I filmed it, like all covered up, no tattoos. And all the comments were like, what's different about you? I was like, what do you mean? My arm that's colorful is tan right now. What do you mean? I don't have a throat tattoo? It was crazy because you could tell there was something off and you couldn't tell.
I think I watched it 75 times in a row. Like,
thank
because
you.
It was just, I was like,
you.
How?
Thank you. I need that. I need people to watch it 75 times.
How? Okay, so you do a lot of like get ready with me kind of videos, but there was one where you were doing, I think it was around Halloween, you were doing clown makeup.
Yeah.
And you did some of the coolest stuff to achieve the look. And I feel like I learned so much, like not just how to do a blood spatter look, which
my toothbrush.
Maybe I'll need that someday. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But the eyeliner thing, when you closed your eye over the eyeliner and pulled it through.
Oh, that's a special kind of eyeliner. It's a powder-based eyeliner that and forgive me for anything I say from here on out, you guys, that is politically incorrect, because it's probably going to happen.
We don't care.
It is sold specifically by Indian women. And when I say Indian, again, forgive me, but like red dot in the center of your head.
From India.
Yes.
Indian.
Kind of thing. And it's completely powder, and it just like powder sticks on that rod. And the only way I've seen them apply it is when you close. It's the craziest thing, but I had just learned about that too.
But that was cool as hell. I went, what? Rewind, like I gotta say that again too. How did you learn how to do your makeup like that?
So I grew up with a family that was well known throughout my entire community. Everyone knew my family. So every time we went out in public, all those things, we got visitors a lot. We were talked to by everybody. So Halloween was the only holiday that I could dress up with my family and go walk around a neighborhood and nobody bothered us. And if they did, they thought that the pirate looked cool. You know what I mean? And they moved on with their day. So I've been obsessed with costumes since I was a little kid. And so then I just fell in love with it and just fell in love with becoming whatever you wanted to become, kind of thing. So I've been a YouTube warrior since I was probably 13, as far as like looking up tutorials and like playing around with stuff. I just love it. And I thought it was just for me. It was one of those things where I never implemented it into my content because, one, people sexualize cosplay like a lot. And at the time I was young. Now I'm a little older. I'm like, you can sexualize whatever you want. Quite frankly, I'm flattered.
I saw you say something in one of your posts, like if you sexualize my body when I'm posting a picture at the gym, that's a issue.
That's an issue, not an ish me, baby.
So much.
Yeah. And so I was really protective of it for a long time. I never shared it with anybody. I just did cosplay by myself in my bedroom. And then 2020 happened. And I was just like scrounging for content. I was like, what am I supposed to film inside my house when I can't leave and like whatever? And I thought maybe I could let people into like my cosplay world. And I was shook by like how excited people were to watch it. And like, I was like, I have country music fan followers. Like they're not going to want to see blood and like gore. And like, I'm probably going to get banned and like, I'm going to trigger people, whatever. And that did happen for the first month or two. A lot of my stuff would get taken down or whatever,
Really?
especially if it was really gory. And I think it was because I was posting for an audience who had never seen anything like that on their feed.
Yeah.
Because at that time in 2020, still kind of young, a lot of my following is 40 to 60-year-old women, to be honest with you. I had an older following as a young kid. So I ran into that. But now I have women come to my shows who are still in their 40s and 50s. And they're like, can I show you? Like I kind of tried to look like a vampire the other night. I'm like, girl, show me.
Yeah.
What do you mean? She goes, I've never even thought it was something I could like, but I've watched your lives for 2 years. And I thought maybe I could do this. I thought that's the coolest thing I've ever done. Like of all the things I've done, that's the coolest thing I've ever done.
As somebody in that demographic that you're talking about, you know, Gen X, we didn't have YouTube or TikTok or anybody but our moms really to show us how to do makeup. And so I, for one, like sometimes I'll see a thing and I'll go, well, let me try it. And then I go, no, I hate it. And I don't. And I don't wear a ton of makeup as it is. Mm-hmm. I might wear more if I thought I could. If I thought I could do it better.
It's fun to dabble with.
But then also I don't have the patience to sit and watch a 10-minute
yes, of course,
tutorial video. So
with products you don't have.
Products I don't have, and I'm not going to go spend, you know, all of the money on the. And so then I just don't do it. But I when I see the fast ones, you know, when they kind of speed through it or they
when they actually edit their content and you're not just watching them do it for that long.
I think it's really cool. And also, when I see a little trick like that, like now I want to find that powder eyeliner. And I don't really wear eyeliner. I may never do it, but I want to try it. I'll send you a link
before we get out of here. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so cool. Now, trying stuff is so cool. And then just like, I don't know. Again, there's always so much shame about what we like to do to alter things or not alter things, or like say you contour something every single day and then no one actually knows what you look like whatever, all these things. But it can be so fun. Yeah. Like makeup can be the funnest thing on the planet.
I think that shaming women is just a part of this whole patriarchal, like keep us in our place thing. And I think it's really cool that your generation and the generation coming up behind you are not tolerating that anymore because you're fixing it for the rest of us.
And also, like, men are shorting themselves. Yeah. Because, like, I love men. I was that girl whose all my friends were boys growing up, you know, kind of thing. Like, I've always been really supported by men and that kind of thing. But as an adult, I am seeing more and more of all of these things from just men, and like I feel like I was very ignorant to the patriarchy that you're talking about, kind of thing. And the last couple of years have been like, they don't know that they're doing that.
No, they don't. And
you know what I mean? Like they have no idea. Like I didn't realize how rooted and culturally it was to not really respect women. Like it's not natural for them to respect
like a girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's
so like better than most. Right, so like locked in.
Superior.
So like I actually practiced. Yeah. Like what do you mean?
I followed directions. I read the directions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so baked in, and women. It's baked into women too, so that we don't notice it until someone points it out to us. Yeah. And then when we try to go, "Hey, that sucks," people are like, "Oh my God, here we go again."
I'm going to blame men for what I'm about to say. My biggest problem is women. Mm-hmm. No one is meaner to me than women are.
True.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I don't know if that comes from, you know, their upbringing and their insecurity kind of thing, or what the case is.
I mean, we all came up in the same society. It's kind of like the body shaming thing that you were talking about earlier. Like we do that because, and I say we as a society because I don't participate in that, but we do that as a society because we're taught to do it.
Yeah. And like you see it, you see people do it, and it's so frustrating. But I will say, I have never, ever seen anybody bully anybody who wasn't, what word would you use? Either important or like capable. Like no one bullies a loser. You know what I mean?
You don't punch down.
Yeah. Like honestly, like anytime, like if you're being bullied, just know like you got something going on. Like you really got something going on. That's okay. Right. So if you're getting bullied out there, you hold that head high, because I'll tell you what, also, you know, let me know who they are, because I can't stand that stuff. But
yeah, me too.
You're doing something right.
We ride at dawn.
Mm-hmm. We do.
Well, that kind of brings me to the reason that Girl Crush Country exists, which is that there is this disconnect somehow still that is keeping women out of playlists and airplay.
Yeah.
And there are so many women who are making great music that aren't getting the spotlight that they should be getting. Is that, I mean, I know you've got family in the music business. I don't know if this was something that they prepared you for, because it has gotten significantly worse, I think, over the last 2 decades. But is that a barricade you feel like you've come up against?
It has gotten absolutely worse. So I was born in 96. So I grew up, in the tail end of the 90s. The only thing on the radio was Reba and Trisha and Jody Messina. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
there were so many.
I was shocked to see them go away. I think right around 2000, I was like, okay, why am I having to like go find this music instead of it being on when I get in the car with my parents, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that I can't speak for my parents because I'm not sure how they feel about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that shift in the 2000s wasn't kind of surprising to the Trishas and the Rebas and the Jody Messinas.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Because they're like, when you play us, we do fantastic.
Yeah.
The only time we don't do well is when you don't play us. You know what I mean? It's not like where you're losing listeners or it's not like you have some kind of listener count like we do on Facebook Live now. You know what I mean? That just goes down when you put a woman on. Like, that's not happening. And all the compliments I get after shows, just like all of my female friends that do music. Again, I personally love you, gentlemen, but the whole, I don't particularly like female artists, but you're fantastic. I'm like, buddy, you've said that to 7 women this week. You like women's music.
Right.
You really do.
To me, that's exactly the same as my friends who go, I don't really like country music. And then will play me a song.
All they listen to are story
love.
Songs. Yeah.
My cousin is like, so this is a cousin I have only met in person once. We didn't even know about each other until we were adults.
Ooh.
So a couple years ago, we get in touch and she says to me, I'm sorry I didn't know you were famous, which first of all, I'm not. She's like, I'm sorry I didn't know you were famous, but I don't listen to country music. And I was like, well, first of all, I'm not famous. Secondly, I don't need you to listen to country music just because you're my cousin. That's fine. You like what you like.
Right.
And then she'll be like, I like this song. And she'll send me a Megan Maroney song. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude, you like country.
You like country music.
She will send me all this stuff. And I'll say, listen, what you're demonstrating to me is that you like country music. And then she'll go, well, I like 90s country music. Okay. That is country music.
It's still country music.
That's not a qualifier. Yeah. That's still country music. And people who say they don't like country music, that's like saying, I don't like green.
It is.
There's so many shades.
Well, and
there's
also,
so many flavors.
I do love Zach Top, so no hate on Zach Top. But Zach Top is the only artist that is being commercially promoted right now that's really doing the 90s music. Yeah. There's a lot. If you're one of those people who's like, I love country music, but I just like 90s country, there are 20-year-olds putting out music right now, if you find the right playlist, if you actually go look for it, that are putting out the countryest stuff I've ever heard in my life. You know what I mean? So like 90s country, just because it's not represented right now on like the top curated playlist or like country radio, it didn't go away.
No,
Zach Top is not your only 90s country artist you can find these days.
And I think that there are some current mainstream being played on the radio and not, but should be played on. Ashley McBride, like, I've got a chip on my shoulder about her because
we all do.
I don't know why radio's not playing her.
Yeah.
But there are current mainstream artists that are putting some of that 90s flavor on their stuff. Yeah. And I think, country music has always gone in cycles.
Always.
when I first got into country music in the 90s, it was the late 90s, and there was this pop influx right then.
Huge pop influx.
And to me, I was a pop listener at the time when I first started working in country, and I don't listen to country music. I don't know. It was the pop music that got me in.
Yeah.
And then I started hearing Alan Jackson and some of the others. And then I went, oh,
yeah,
this is good. And then it started to cycle a little bit more traditional sounding. And then maybe there's some rock influence coming in. And then it just goes in these cycles. So I think that some of the mainstream artists are leaning us into that 90s.
It's definitely going there. It's definitely going right now.
Holmes, Ashley McBride,
the Ella and Riley duet being the largest song of the year, being like, again, and Riley said this during his acceptance speech, like for song of the year kind of thing. Like he said, dude, a country song with talking verses is song of the year. Like we're getting back to, so it absolutely comes in cycles. And I hate that it is a fad though. I hate all of it as a fad, because now all of my friends that really make pop country music and have always made pop country music have draws out of nowhere. They've all got these little accents in their songs. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are you talking about? So I do love the fad. I also love adjusting for your market like this, because we're talking about commercial music here. You know what I mean? So like, again, if you're not going to move with the times as a company, like you're kind of screwed. So I totally respect anyone, kind of evolving, like absolutely evolve.
But stay true to who you are.
But find a way to do 90s country the way you would do 90s country. You know what I mean? Not the way that Ella's doing it right now, or not the way that anyone's, whatever. So I just always encourage everyone to just like, I totally get evolving, and I totally get, doing what is working right now. But do it, fine, like work just a little bit longer and figure out how to do it the way that like you would do it.
Do you have a current country girl crush?
I got two that come to mind. If I thought for a couple more seconds, I'd probably have 12.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But I do love what Ella's doing right now for female music, and the sounds and the narratives that she's choosing, what she's choosing to sing about. I know Priscilla Block personally, because we came from the thing. I do have this insecurity that when people get famous and someone's like, I'm friends with Priscilla. Yeah. Priscilla and I know each other, and we do love each other, and we be in the same rooms a lot. But I'm a fan of Priscilla in the sense of, I don't want to put a cause on her that she didn't intend to have. But the body positivity thing around Priscilla and her look is fantastic. Priscilla was also the main photo I took into my surgeon and said, hey, can I look like the 200-pound girl that I am with a 140-pound face? Because that's Priscilla. Now, Priscilla's way smaller than I am because she's like 5'2", in the sense of like when we're talking about weight here. I'm not saying Priscilla's a 200-pound girl, but I am. And I like what Priscilla's doing with her music and also just outside of her music. And then Angie K is a really good friend of mine. We perform a lot together.
Yeah, you did that.
And what she's doing for... Yeah, we did the little songwriter tour. She is my duo partner for downtown still in Nashville, and I play downtown Nashville. Angie K comes and plays with me. But she's doing a lot of really cool stuff for country music too, because she's from El Salvador, and so she has this really cool twist on everything that she does.
I love her sound so much.
If there were three girls to check out, if you guys don't know about them, I'd be surprised if you don't know about Ella Langley, and Priscilla Block, honestly, and Angie K. Those are kind of my the people that I'm streaming the most when it comes to women right now.
You've been at this music thing for a little while now.
A long time.
I know that you knew coming in that this is a quote unquote 10-year town. Like nobody's an overnight success, even when they look like they're an overnight success. Right. And having family in the music business gives you a different perspective, I know, than a lot of people who just come to Nashville to make music. Yeah. But is there anything that has surprised you about making a life in music?
I think the whole thing surprised me because I have parents that have done this as a career their whole lives, but I wasn't raised by singers. I was raised by, a retired singer. So I never saw any of the business when I was at home. I was raised by a dad who was obsessed with sports. We worked out all the time, and that's what we did. And we built bridges, and we did physical stuff. That was what we did. So I grew up seeing someone who was really successful, who got a record deal, what seemed like out of nowhere when they were, 27, 28, and their first single took over the whole world. And then their career was huge. And not by not working. I obviously worked his tail off his whole life kind of thing, but just was huge. And I've never used my family's name or anything like that, but I did think, I don't need it. You know what I mean? And I don't need it. But all this to say, I did think that I was going to come to town and make this 10-year town a 2-year town, kind of thing. I really did. But then I got here and I really looked at it and I tried. And everyone who interacts with the music and sees the music and finds it does love it. But I never thought it would be this hard to get people to hear it. You know what I mean? Like to put the product in front of them and have them hear it. I never thought it would be this hard to be seen because we've been so lucky. I've never had a show where we left not increasing what we had, what we've been working for. Like the projection has always been up, and I hope it always is. I do believe that overnight crowds are gone overnight. You know what I mean? I do believe if I'm your viral kid, there's going to be one right behind me, then you're going to leave. Yeah. Whereas like my followers have followed me for the 12 years I've done this now. You know what I mean? And it's like, even when I'm not on top of the world, they think I am. So I am shocked that I didn't already take over the whole world, you know what I mean? And didn't do it twice by now. But with that said, I have a fan base that's probably never going to go anywhere. If I quit doing music tomorrow, these people would still be checking in on me weekly. Like, well, what are you doing? You're doing costume work? I want to see you do that. You know what I mean? Like, I have this following that I'm so proud of and I'm actually really close with. But I was bamboozled by the whole thing. It's not that I thought it would be easy, but I sure thought that everyone was going to absolutely be obsessed with me 1,200 times more than they are by now. I really thought they were. Yeah. So I don't know if I was wrong or if it just hasn't happened yet.
It's probably them. They're wrong. They don't know yet.
But I was blown away by how difficult it is to want to be represented, honestly, by Nashville.
You did have kind of a career-defining moment in 2024 when you had my old, now see, I'm gonna drop the name now. My friend Lee Brice on a song with you.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And you guys wrote that together too with his wife, Sarah.
Yes.
Did you know? Well, first of all, did you know Lee before that?
So Sarah and I have wrote together for years. Sarah wrote Tattoos with me. Sarah wrote a song with mine called Wildflower. Sarah and I have written forever. And so I knew the family that way. And Lee had always been like, hey, like, when do I get invited into a write with you guys sometimes? And we're all like, girls only.
Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't. I was like, Sarah, please let him in. Please let him in.
Right,
please. Because, so I'm a daughter, right? I'm a famous person's daughter. And I only say that because Sarah is always someone's wife.
Yeah.
And it drives me bonkers. So when I started writing with Sarah, it was very important to me that Sarah decided to bring Lee into a write with me. Okay. And that I never asked Sarah to do that. So I had known them forever. And then Lee was sharing work tapes one day. And one was like super stompy and chainy and all this stuff. And I was like, hey, man, I have a song just like that I can't find a producer for. Would you want to work with me? So he came in with me as a producer, and then we just happened to schedule it right. And Sarah and him and I wrote that song together, and then it just happened to be a duet, and then it just happened to all come together. And then we just happened to go on tour together and release a song at the same time and get to play it together kind of thing. So none of it was really planned, and it was all very wild to me because the Hard to Love album was the very first album I put in my car when I was 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love Lee Brice, and I've never ever. She knows now, but I never wanted Sarah to know that. I never wanted her to know that I was like, that's Lee, dude. Like
people don't really understand that. Like when you're in Nashville and you're in any part of the music business, it is not cool to be.
It's really sensitive.
Fan.
Yeah, it's really sensitive. Yeah. It's cool to hear that you are. Like, never hold back from complimenting someone. You know what I mean? Because everyone's always like, you probably get this all the time. I'm like, I want to get it again. What is it?
But don't be like.
But yes.
Lee Brice is coming to my house.
Yes.
No, I get that. But at any point in that process of recording that song, did at any point did it occur to you, this is going to be huge? Lee Brice is doing a song with me. This is going to be huge.
I think you hope that it is. But, at that point, that was the recording part of it was in 2021 and 2022. at that point, I had had just enough experience with this is going to change my whole career that I was like, no, we're not putting that on anything anymore. We're going to see what it does, you know, kind of thing. And it has done, it has done a lot. It has done a lot for me. But the song that we're talking about in context, I changed my life. And I think this is so cool to talk about, like, for songwriting, because I think sometimes people don't realize that most of the songs you hear, you're just lucky that someone needed therapy. You know what I mean? Like, you're just lucky that someone's life was messed up enough they wrote that song. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I had such a beautiful relationship. It wasn't the relationship. I was married at the time in 2021. And, you know, I finally got the right with Lee, and I was so excited, and I was like, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be like the cool guy. I'm going to know what I'm doing. And he brought in this idea, and it was, well, we're still friends. And I said, oh, dude, like, I totally get it. I already get it. I'm locked in. Let's write it. And he goes, what is it? I said, oh, you know, like while we're still friends, like, let's try and be more. Like we already know that we like each other. Like, while we're still friends, like, let's screw it. Like, let's see what happens. And he goes, no. I said, what? And he goes, no, it's like, hey, while we have like any semblance of like respect and like love for each other, like, let's never see each other again. Right. Let's while we still love each other at all, let's stop doing this. And I thought, I didn't come here to write about myself today, actually, sir. Mm-hmm. And we sat down and we wrote this song. And if you're a songwriter or you're an artist, you're always bringing these songs home. And if you're lucky enough to have a partner that wants to hear them, you get to share songs every day with your partner that you went and you wrote, you know? Mm-hmm. And if you're like me, your partner's going to go, you write a lot of like complacency, upset love songs. Like, are we good? Yeah. And I'll go, my co-writer is going through it, bro. Like, they brought the idea. I loved it. We wrote it. And most of the time that was true. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't realize until I was driving home with the work tape going, he's going to be at home when I get there. And he's been so excited for me, like, for this write with Lee Brice. And all he's thought about all day is like, I can't wait to hear the song that Allie brings home from her co-write with Lee Brice. And I got home and I said, do you want to listen to it? And then we did. And I said, I think we need to get a divorce, man. Oh. And he goes, ah. And so I probably would have been with him for a couple more years. Mm. But you can't say, it was one song I said, I can't bring this home and act like it isn't what it is anymore. And because greatest man on the planet, you know, just not my person. Yeah. And that song did more for me personally, all that to say, than I think people have ever realized a song has done for somebody. We sat down after that song, we talked for probably a whole week straight. We just sat on the couch and we didn't get up and we just sat there. And like at the end of the week, we went and we filed and we had the kindest, most like, what's it called when it's not argued against? Starts with a C. Anyway. I know what you're talking about. Yes, we had one of the kindest. Non-contested divorces on the planet. Exactly. And we talked about it. And I think, you know, it was really hard on both of us for a while because it was a transition. But both of us, after those, you know, a couple months of being apart, were like, this was what we needed to do. Mm-hmm. And if we wouldn't have wrote that song, I don't know if we would have done that. Okay, but first of all, Lee Brice is responsible for your divorce. Yeah, he is. Lee Brice caused your divorce. But that's why he's on the song. Because every time I would sing it, I would go, this is just something that someone who decided to leave says. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because his world is still shattered. And I'm over here acting like a hero. Like, let's do this responsibly while we're still friends. Yeah. And it just seemed yucky. It seemed like, because that wasn't his narrative. You know, my ex-husband it was a shock to him. I had known this was a thing for a long time. I just came home on a Tuesday one day and ruined his life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is so beautiful, but I want it to be amicable. And that's why Lee sings on it. So that you have two characters. So a few things. One, our exes are not the same. Our no, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. Because my divorce song would be a whole another. This was a small niche of women Miranda I was writing Lambert for. Would be involved. Yeah, that's what you need. It would be that's what you need. Ugly. Second of all, Lee Brice will break your heart. Yeah. Funny story. When I met Lee, he was on his radio tour. So his first single, way back. I didn't live in Nashville yet. And I didn't really
from my little radio job perspective, I didn't really understand that songwriting was a profession. I didn't really, like, I knew there were songwriters, like this song was written by blah, 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 but there was never a connection in my brain.
Yeah.
And then I met Lee. He was on his radio tour. Some stuff had happened with his bus. He didn't have his guitar. Like, he couldn't play the music that he wanted to play. And it was right after More Than a Memory had come out. And so More Than a Memory, of course, was Garth Brooks, and Garth did a great job with that song. But Lee had a CD where he played me his version of that song. And that was the moment when I went, holy shit.
Yeah.
The songwriter, when you hear the song from a songwriter, holy shit. I loved Garth's version of the song, but holy shit.
Hearing a songwriter's version is the craziest thing on the planet, because it's just like, it's the same thing as like understanding a movie and then understanding the prequel. You know what I mean? Like, it's completely different. And I know that Lee is one of those artists for me that has one of those songs. So Lee was my introduction to exactly what you're talking about. There was a panel one night where like all of the artists who had written Lee Brice songs were all playing. And I didn't know that Drive Your Truck was written by a woman. Yeah. And to hear a female sing Drive Your Truck, and just to hear like, if I lost my partner and all I had was his truck and I'm just ripping through freaking wheat fields with it, like that was so much, like that was rage. Where like Drive Your Truck for a man, like if I'm driving my brother's truck or something and I'm a dude, it seemed like respect and honesty and grief, you know, like exactly what Lee wanted the song to be and exactly what it was supposed to be. But when she does it, it feels like rage.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, songwriters make things, I mean, AI has taken, you know, whatever from everything, but I wish so badly that people understood what it was like to like sit in your room and start from nothing and then end up with a More Than a Memory. Like that's bonkers.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah. Well, you put out a song last summer called Back in the Saddle.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Let's bring the tempo back up a little bit here. And it's about getting back into dating. Are you ready? Are you ready to get back into dating?
No, I still haven't yet. I got divorced in 2021 and I have been single since. And I don't know what that world looks like. I didn't expect to be so in love with Allie. And I didn't expect to be so in love with my personal time and how I spend it and what I do. So at this point, it's like, if you're not adding...
Oh, thank you.
You know, like if you're not adding a completely different world to my life... I love you. We can grab beers whenever you want. You know what I mean? We can hang out and you can be someone who is comfort for me or whatever you want to do kind of thing. And then we can be friends. But I'm not, but I want to, right? So people talk about being born to be a mom all the time. I don't relate to that. I don't, especially in the world that we're in right now. I can't imagine. I'm already so anxious about everyone that I love and making sure that they're safe. I can't imagine having a child. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine sending that child into a school. Yeah. I can't imagine anything. So all that to say, I don't relate to that. I feel like I was born to be a partner. Like, I want a person, and I want to take on life with a person, like so bad. And I've always thought it would be so cool. So all that to say, you know, last year I was really thinking about it and I was like, let's write like a back to dating again anthem. But I'm honestly, I think I'm too scared of it. But I think Back in the Saddle is one of the coolest songs I've ever came out with sonically. Because it's so cool. So I grew up with alternative music. Like I love alternative. Like if I had my choice, I would be, if you took Ashley McBryde and Amy Lee and put them together, whatever that is, I hope it's me. So Amy Lee is a singer for Evanescence. Yeah. And also just Amy Lee, and like the coolest thing on the planet. And that's what I grew up on, was like 3 Days Grace and Evanescence. And a lot of like Three Doors Down and just like whatever that type of like alternative music that I feel like gets made fun of, like Nickelback, like whatever that is, that was my stuff. And I absolutely loved it. And so, but you talk about songwriting and you talk about country music, like nothing's cooler than a country narrative. Like nothing is cooler than the stories that come out of country music. And I was like, do I get to do that? Like, could I be so lucky that I get to make music that sounds like it could be a pop punk record? It's about cowboys and rodeo and horses. There's nothing cooler than horses. And it sounds like a pop punk thing. And that's what Back in the Saddle ended up being, you know, and I came in with the hook of like, I want to get back on the saddle, but like, I want a new horse. And they were like, I don't think it needs to say I need a new horse. I think we can just write about that. I said, okay, good idea. And so we came up with Back in the Saddle. And I think it's 4 hours, top to bottom. We were done. We mastered it.
That's how you know that you were enjoying what you were doing.
It was awesome.
Yeah. It's a bop. And it is in the Girl Crush Country playlist on Spotify. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have music to look forward to in 2026?
There's so much music to look forward to in 2026. I have, I think, 3 almost ready to go into production. One, I have the full version on Instagram if anyone cares. It's called Embers, and it's very sad and it's emotional. And I put out a song called Mahogany Teakwood last year that I wrote completely by myself, kind of thing. And I don't usually put those songs out. But Embers is kind of a different version of that kind of thing, and I love it. So that one will be kind of what it is. Everything else is almost kind of a party. We're kind of keeping the Back in the Saddle thing going. Mm-hmm. So we've got really fun stuff coming up. One of them is Bucket. Like, I don't know if you cuss on your podcast or not, but one of them is like bucket, like fuck it, but bucket. So it's like, it lands on when the world's in your back, grab your cowboy hat and just bucket. And so we're trying to write rodeo anthems that still sound like pop punk stuff.
Jerrod Niemann was involved with producing.
Jerrod Niemann was on all 3 of them that Lee was on. So Halos and Horns, While We're Still Friends, and a song called Feels Like.
And is he writing any of these bucket fuck it songs with you? Because he
won't text me back.
You know what? He won't text me back.
He won't text anybody back.
Well, I don't know.
We were just on the same cruise together. I couldn't even find him on the boat. I was like, where are you at?
He used to be. I don't know if this is still true because we don't really hang out. We hung out more when I didn't live in Nashville.
That's how that works too. Isn't that crazy?
But he would be like the king of the Irish exit.
Oh, yeah.
Like he would just disappear and then not return text. Yeah. And now, like, I haven't been able to, I think it's been 2 years since he's returned a text.
Same.
Yeah.
Literally. So maybe you and I have the same number, to be honest. Maybe you and I have the same number, and I don't think he has it.
Does he change his number repeatedly?
Yeah, he won't text me back. But there was a time when Jerrod Niemann was working with me, and I thought I was the coolest person on the planet.
Well, because he's got some experience with that whole, like, rodeo...
Yeah.
Bucket, fuck it thing. So, Jerrod, dude, brah,
come on, text us back.
We got to get you on this. We got to get you on this right. I hope that happens for you.
I do. I've been asking him for years to get into write with me because he produced all that stuff with me and Lee, but we've never really got to sit down and write together. So, that would be cool.
I like to wrap up with some like stupid flash round questions.
Cool.
Besides Jerrod Niemann, who's on the collaboration bucket list?
Ashley McBride's always number 1 on there. I would really love to do something in the pop world. Like I would love to be a vocal feature on like an R&B song or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Not Russ specifically, even though I love Russ. Russ could be the answer, but something like that. Like I would love to collaborate outside of country music. But when it comes to country music, man, Cody Johnson and Ashley McBride are always my 2 people that I would love to do.
Ashley McBride, I'm going to mention this in as many episodes as I can. That ever since I went to this event when her record label like announced her, and Girl Going Nowhere it hadn't come out yet.
Right.
And it was just this little industry lunch thing. And she played that song and a couple of others. And she talked like she talks. And I was like, she needs to be my best friend.
Yeah.
And so far, she has not agreed to that. And I don't know why. I don't know what she's afraid of. I swear I'm not crazy or creepy.
My introduction to Ashley McBride was before Girl Go Nowhere came out, but it was right before it, you know. So she still had a lot of traction, especially in the songwriting community. So she really, really meant something still at the Bluebird kind of thing. Obviously, she'd be huge at the Bluebird now but at the time, everyone at the Bluebird would have known who she was. So I somehow was placed on a round with Ashley at the Bluebird, and they sat me after her.
Oh, God, the pressure.
They sat me after her. I couldn't sing a single song all night because I had snot running down my face.
Yeah.
Like, I just cried every song she played. And then she'd go, your turn. And I'd be like, Okay.
Yeah.
And I never felt cooler in my life, and I probably never will. I played a song. I can't even remember the title of it now. This was so long ago, but I played a song, and I looked at her and she was crying. And then she goes, "Do you want to go fight in the parking lot after this?" I said, "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I thought it was the first time I'd ever been on stage with a woman who was crying like I was, who was also went straight to physical. Like, "You want to go beat each other up after this?" I was like, "Yes, bud, I did."
Yeah.
She goes, "Cool."
Yeah.
And so that was my introduction to Ashley McBryde.
She's so cool.
Was I had to play after her, and I said, "I don't ever want to do this again."
If a theme song played whenever you walked in the room, what would it be?
Halloween. The Michael Myers theme song.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. What song lyric do you wish you wrote?
Don't Close Your Eyes. The entire song.
The entire song.
Yeah. I was so close. You know what I mean? Like, I could have got there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes you hear those songs and it seems like that's so obvious. How did nobody get
that
there?
kills me. I will say there's, as far as like just lyric base wise, there's a line in whatever, one of the new Tucker Wetmore songs that's like, "You look like," I think it's just, "You look like a little bit of what I'm doing for the rest of my life." And I thought, that's nothing but cute. Like, that's just make me blush in a box right there.
That's
Like, if a man ever said that to me, I'd be like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And so I think as a writer, I'm envious of that one a lot.
If you could invent a holiday, what would it celebrate?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Crafts. I love making crafts, right?
Really?
So I just love it. Whatever it is. And I'm never going to do one twice, right? So if I do one, conquered it. What's the next one? Like, I kind of learned how.
I'm never going to do one all the way to the end. I'm doing
absolutely
that and then I'm never
not.
finishing it.
No, I love it. So if there was one day a year where you just had to learn how to do something new and like make a craft or something, I think that would be so fun.
Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Can I say Ashley McBryde?
Yes.
Okay, that's who it would be.
There's no rules.
It would be Ashley McBryde.
Okay. I love it. Allie, Colleen, you have been such a delight.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Girl Crush Country.
Thank you for creating a platform that, again, makes us feel important again. I really appreciate it.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
You can hear some of Allie's music, as I mentioned, on the Girl Crush Country playlist on Spotify, which you can find along with all of our socials, and sign up for the weekly newsletter at girlcrushcountry.com. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube as well.